that social media does need, and I think the internet will need, to have a form of identity control. I think AI and the rise of technology right now is going to necessitate real ID on the internet. And even if you don't think that it should be, it will be. Why the need for ID? Because it makes it easier to do, and it makes people know that they're being held accountable as they're doing it. Because when people know that they're being watched, they know that there's accountability, they're less likely to commit a crime and cause problems. You can't possibly be for this. Come on. I think this is the reason why. I think it's inevitable. With the rise of online crime, the accessibility of AI to do things like impersonation and fraud so easily, the increase in crypto scams, the amount of people that are on the internet now that, are existing inside of different jurisdictions and stuff like this, there is no other way for them to address that than to have some degree of accountability. Asmon thinks the internet should include IDs. Well, now he's defending it. Well, yes, I am. I think the government needs to be able to find out who is behind certain internet accounts. And so, yeah, you need to have some level of accountability for this. Absolutely. You can't have a social media website, and you can't have all these people on it, and you can't have it have this big of an impact in the real world without having consequences. Well, I think that there's going to be a need for some level of real ID. I think this is inevitable because the government is going to mandate it because the internet is too consequential now to not have any degree of accountability to it. So the internet has become a massively powerful, incredibly influential space in people's lives. With that comes a degree of accountability that people need to have on the internet. You can't have something like that and have it be completely unregulated and have it have no accountability. Even if America doesn't do it, there's going to be enough countries in the world that do, that it will become a norm. Let me ask you something, Austin. Do you think that I am wrong in my assessment that real ID will be the future? Do you think I'm wrong or not? There is a legitimate, real problem that we have on the internet right now, with a lot of crime on the internet being harder to enforce and laws being harder to enforce on the internet. There is going to be a solution to that problem. That solution is being defined right now. There is no outcome where no solution is defined. There will be a solution. Well, it is happening, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So the best thing that you can do is you can look at how to make this problem as efficient and as effective as possible. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. So this is the issue. Like, who's paying me? Like, what are you talking about? You go back 5 years, I've been saying this. I've been saying this forever. It's obvious this is what's going to happen.
Basically, he's saying that Internet ID is going to be inevitable, and he also is saying that he supports it because he sees the need for some internet accountability. I am going to show you exactly why he is in support of this ID verification on the internet. But first of all, there are many people that have told me that he's not in support of this, that people are misrepresenting his words. He's just saying that it's inevitable, that it is going to happen, but he doesn't support it. So there is not ifs and buts. He supports this initiative to have Internet ID globally.
It's dumb chatters equating your predictions with what you want.
No, we are not equating his predictions to what he wants. He is exactly saying what he wants, explicitly. Everybody can see it. Everybody can listen to it.
Everybody says this is L take and everything I'm wrong about this, but nobody can explain why. Nobody can explain or give me a solution. Everybody says L, but nobody says why. And the reason why is because everybody knows that I'm right, but they don't want to admit it because they think that it's a bad thing that's happening.
Everybody is saying L because you are wrong, and because they know that what you're pushing or what you're suggesting is bad. You say nobody can argument why you're wrong. I am going to explain why he's wrong. I am going to explain you why you are wrong. Because you say nobody can do it, well, too bad, because I can.
They want to know you better. every single argument about ID verification on social media boils down to, I want the bank account information of that guy with the Vegeta avatar who called me a dumb wank. You got fan accounts. I wish, see, this is the thing I used to like about Facebook, bro, is you used to be able to just pull up somebody's profile and you see they work at Burger King and they're fat, and you just immediately don't give a fuck what they're saying, right? But now you got people on Twitter that get to hide their identity. That's one of the things that, like, honestly, if we ever get real ID and it gets forced, I don't want it to be forced on social media where you got to use your real name and shit. I don't want that. I never want that. But at the same time, I'll take the silver lining of being able to see these hogs for what they are. We got to have a profile picture and, you know, some dimensions, right? Like, what is your circumference? I'm not saying that your fucking Twitter needs to, you know, your Pussy Slayer 69 needs to be renamed to John Smith. No, I'm just saying that there needs to be a third party or a government background check that verifies that people that are using this website are in fact citizens or real people, and the fact that they are adults of age. That's all.
As you can see, he is showing his real intentions, why he supports these initiatives. The reason why is because he hates anonymity on the internet. He wants to see the people that hurt his feelings on the internet punished. That is what he calls accountability on the internet. He couldn't even care less about the crimes that he speaks about, which I am going to show you later. All he cares about is being able to submit the dissidents, the people that he doesn't agree with, just like a leftist will do. How do I know that? Because he's saying so himself in these clips, and because this guy is completely protected. You can write on any of his chats while he's streaming, because you need a phone number authentication to do so. On Reddit, you can't even write there if you don't even have a super old account with tons of fucking karma, because otherwise you can't write on his Reddit. He's completely protected. He doesn't like that people go against his will or his own ideas. You can see it also in the way he constantly bans people that disagree with him on his stream. This is the real reason why he supports this.
So the truth is that if you need an ID for something like this, it's not really going to change a whole lot in terms of speech laws. And if you're unhappy about the speech laws, the main problem there is the speech itself and the laws themselves. It's illogical to say this bill would give a corrupt government precedent to change how the internet works in every way. No, it's completely illogical. So yeah, I think the point is what constitutes what's wrong or against the law. What happens when certain talking points, for example, become illegal? That's something that is already happening. This isn't so if you're worried about the government censoring speech because of Real ID on the internet, they're already doing that without Real ID. It's already happening. And also, you wouldn't be worried about that if there weren't laws against that type of speech. So maybe get mad at the laws rather than get mad at the internet.
What kind of overreach can we start seeing when we're starting to provide government?
If you are afraid of government overreach for speech, you should be afraid of the government itself and not the system that they're going to use. But they're not doing it for that reason, and you know it. And you know it. And this is somebody who thinks that you think that the reason is to control people's speech. Okay, well, if the reason is to control people's speech, shouldn't the problem be the government? Because the government are the ones that are doing it? So if you're living in a country where certain speech is against the law, the problem that you have isn't Real ID. The problem that you have is the law. That's the issue. The problem isn't the Real ID, it's the law itself. That's why people are getting arrested in the UK right now.
One of the main counter-arguments people brought to Asmongold was the fact that these type of initiatives are going to push more and more speech regulations. And his argument is that you should not care about the ID, but about the law, about what the government says. And here is the thing, we don't have internet ID at this moment in time, but there is already places where people get completely expelled from the internet, even though there is no ID verification yet. There have been tons of people that have been essentially banned from the internet. You can see what happened to Alex Jones, for example, Nick Fuentes, guys like that, Adam Green, where they can't even speak. Myron Gaines also. They have to find ways, alternatives to be online. Just imagine imagine how bad it's going to be when you have government-forced ID. It's going to be even worse. And of course, speech regulations are going to be worse. The consequences are going to be worse. How can this guy be complaining about payment processors, essentially forcing censorship on video games, and at the same time agree that you have to have government-forced ID on the internet? It's completely incoherent. And as you can see in the next clips that I'm going to show you, the governments already are using this as a means to censor speech, and he even admits it himself.
The only reason they're making the Online Safety Act is to stop people from complaining about migration. The problem with these countries applying these real ID laws isn't the real ID laws in themselves, it's the fact that the real ID laws make it easier to stop people from speaking their mind, because the government would have already done that. They already do that. People are already getting arrested for tweets in the UK. I do think that a lot of the age verification and a lot of the internet accountability is actually being pushed, especially in the UK and in places like Australia. I think that it's being pushed as a Trojan horse for censorship. I do think that's what's happening.
That's it. This kind of stuff is being used to control people's speech. You're already admitting it. So what is even your point? You already are admitting what people are objecting, which is that this type of initiatives are going to bring more speech control and essentially is going to strip away our rights.
Are you giving the website your government ID?
Which I don't want them to do. I want third-party authentication. I do not want the government to have your ID. Or sorry, these websites to have your ID. Look at what happened with the T app. Absolutely not.
One leak that we just saw, again, the T app just dealt with this, like photos of people getting leaked all over the place. We know which username said what, the chat histories are there, but now we're going to also get a third party involved.
Yes.
A third party that's also going to get your government ID.
Yes.
The trustworthy third party. Okay.
Then he says that he doesn't want the government to be the ones that have these IDs. They don't want that. They don't want this. He also doesn't want that all these apps have your ID. He doesn't want that every site, that every app asks for your real ID. So his solution is to bring a third party, and this third party is going to be able to do it without any issue whatsoever. In my previous video about Collective Shout, I explained to you in a section of that video about having to have an account on every single site and how that is a problem. The solution that is going to be implemented for that type of problem, the fact that you need to have tons of different accounts to sign up on different apps, web pages, etc., is going to be a single ID. You will only need a single ID to log into every single app, every single website. That is going to be the solution. They are going to centralize everything. And this real ID is just that. So everybody is going to be forced to log into a third party, and that third party is going to log you into every website, and you no longer are going to need to have multiple accounts. And that sounds great, right? Less hassles for ourselves. But the reality is that it is not, because when you say something or you do something that some website, some app doesn't like, they're going to ban you. And you know what is going to happen? They're probably going to ban you everywhere. And now all they have to do is ban one single thing to completely ban you from being online. There are not going to be alternative accounts. You're not going to be able to do ban evasion, to do another account. There is not going to be a way to do that.
By the way, companies are not better than the government. I do not think so. And I think that you can use slavery as an example for that. The government got rid of slavery in 1865. Companies still use it. These companies are 1,000 times worse than the government.
So he says companies are worse than the government. So why is he advocating for a third party to control our real IDs? It's going to have to be a company, and anybody that is not low IQ knows already that we are not even governed by the actual, or what we usually call, the government. We are not ruled by them. We are ruled by corporations. Anybody that is not a complete idiot knows this. We live in an oligarchy, which means we are already ruled by corporations. The government is just there as a middleman. But the reality is that the ones that own everything are corporations.
So you support the internet police. We already have the internet police. It's called the police. What are we doing?
Yes, he supports the internet police. And soon enough is going to be the thought police. You're not going to even be able to have your original thoughts anymore. You will see.
And the only people who would disapprove of a government authenticated system for IDs would be bad actors. If your intentions online are not nefarious, why would you complain if a government authentication system?
What a sad bootlicker. The only people that are against this are people that are bad actors. What a fucking pussy. No, the people that are against this are because we don't want to lose our independence. We don't want to lose our freedom of expression on the internet. We don't want to lose our rights. We don't want to be censored. We don't want to be able to lose everything just because a corporation, because it's not even the government, like I said, a corporation doesn't like what you're saying on the internet. I have suffered censorship myself multiple times. I know what the fuck I am talking about. We don't want that. People don't want that. Look, I myself have blocked people multiple times on X, blocked people on my YouTube channel. I don't allow them to comment on my videos sometimes. But that doesn't mean that I support government ID. If those people that I block or those people that I prevent from talking on my videos, to writing a comment on my videos, make alt accounts, I don't care. I just ban them again. I just block them again. Who cares? This is insane, wanting to have this amount of control.
Many people are computer illiterate enough to think that they're protected and the government can't figure out what they're doing on the internet. Like, I'm not even kidding you that there are a lot of court cases where people look something up on Google in incognito mode and then they get surprised when they get the record pulled from the ISP. I'm being serious, right? Like, people, the idea of you being anonymous on the internet is not even real. It's not even real. The internet idea of anonymity is a fucking mirage. It's not even real. You don't have anonymity on the internet. You never did. You don't have anonymity on the internet. If the FBI wants to find out who you are, they will. You can't have anonymity if you know what you're doing. I can elaborate. Here's the thing, is that if you want to say that, like, you have that or whatever, I can't really guarantee that that's true or not. But what I can say is that the odds are that if the government tries to figure out what you're doing and how you're doing it, they're going to be able to do that. It's going to be possible for them.
Now, his next argument is that you don't have anonymity on the internet. And then some chatter says, you actually can have anonymity on the internet, and I can make you an argument on how and why. And he immediately dismissed the fucking argument. He says, I don't even know if what you're going to tell me is true or not. He doesn't even want to argue that point because he knows he's going to lose. Now let's say, for the sake of the argument, that it is true. You are not going to ever have complete anonymity on the internet. Let's say that statement is true. What does it even matter? That is called a nirvana fallacy. He's basically saying, since we can't have complete anonymity on the internet, since we can't have nirvana, then let's just bring complete regulation. Let's just bring government ID, because we can't have complete anonymity on the internet. That's stupid. That is a fallacy. And you know what? I can do the same. To his own logic, your third party that you're pushing, your idea of a third party that is going to have the control of all our IDs, it's also never going to be perfect. They also have the risk to fuck up and leak everything, every ID, every data. So that means, with your own logic, that is not even worth doing it, because there is a risk. It's not perfect, so why are we even going to do it? That type of argumentation is not even a real argument. It's a fallacy for a reason, because it's dumb logic. The argument that since we can have complete anonymity on the internet, hence let's just accept the complete opposite, which is complete control by the government, by the corporations even, it's absurd.
Then what are we going to do with a VPN? Let's say Western countries will force those changes. What about the rest of the world that will provide a service to dodge those restrictions for free even? I think that what will happen with VPNs is that ISPs will continually block and minimize the ability for people to use VPNs.
So he also is going for the VPNs. He also thinks that VPNs are going to be basically obsolete. they're going to stop functioning. This is just basically a new world order pamphlet.
It's a slippery slope, and it takes accountability. What's this here? It takes accountability away from the parents. You're missing the point. Kids being on the internet is only one small component to this. You have defamation. You have people that are sharing revenge porn. You have, like, think about all of the crimes that are happening on the internet. There are a million crimes that are happening on the internet. Everybody knows this, but we're supposed to pretend like it's not happening. Like, kids are simply one small element of this. You have fraud that's happening. The angle of kids in having ID on the internet is only one element of this, and it's actually like kind of a small element. I think we're already seeing the amount of fraud and misrepresentation and impersonation that's happening with AI. AI is giving people a massive ability to totally commit all kinds of crimes, to do all kinds of really bad stuff. Define online crime that happens online. Like, you realize, like, I mean, I don't even understand, what do you mean define online crime? It's the same thing as basically crime. Yeah, that's it.
There is a good reason why that chatter asked him to define what he means with online crime. He did said some examples, but it sounds dishonest. Maybe people don't know why it sounds dishonest. I am going to explain you why all what he just said sounds really dishonest. Internet crime has always been there. What he just said some examples like fraud, like ID theft, things like that. That doesn't mean we need government ID. What we need to do is empower the police. He already says that there is already the police that is in charge of punishing all of those online crimes. The correct solution is to give the police better tools to deal with these crimes. I can already see someone saying, but having forced government ID on the internet is already giving a new tool to the police. Yes, but the problem with that tool is that it completely screws on the population. It completely screws on your rights. You have the right to be anonymous. You have the right of freedom of expression. These types of measures will completely change how the internet works. And let's be honest, as bad as some people like to say the internet is, it's not that bad. It's not even that close. Seriously. These people just want to scare everybody because they want to enforce maximum control. They want to enforce and get us to the new world order. This is the real crux of the issue.
I think it is parents' responsibility too, but to put the entire responsibility on the parents, I don't think makes sense. If you go into a bar, they're going to check your ID. There's plenty of adult places in the real world that check your ID. And it's like a kid can't just walk into a bar and then the bar says, oh, well, the parents should have stopped them from walking into the bar.
This is a false equivalence fallacy. The internet is not a bar. The reason why a kid is not allowed in a bar is because there is alcohol. There are cigarettes, which are basically drugs. And drugs are not equivalent to the internet. They are just not. Alcohol and smoking can cause you real damage to your life. You can become addicted. And believe it or not, there are parameters that define what is and what isn't an addiction. And there isn't an internet addiction. There is an addiction to alcohol and to cigarettes or drugs, but not to the internet. The reason also why we don't allow kids to have a driver license is because they can cause accidents that can lead to the loss of life. That is the real reason. Are you going to say that a car wreckage is the same as to posting something bad on the internet? It's not the same.
What he's saying here.
Can you give me the benefit of a 15-year-old girl on Instagram?
This is a fallacy. This is building an argument from a disingenuous side. You're like, okay, what's the benefit of a girl that's 15 being on Instagram? There isn't one.
Okay, so you agree with me?
He's correct. This is actually a fallacy. And not just one fallacy, two fallacies. The first one is obviously an appeal to ridicule fallacy. He's just making that point so the audience that listens to him thinks that what his opponent is saying is ridiculous. And also, it's an argument from ignorance. And an argument from ignorance is an informal fallacy where something is claimed to be true or false because of the lack of evidence of the contrary, which is what he's doing. What is the benefit of a 15-year-old on Instagram? There is actually no benefit. There is no evidence that there is a benefit or that there isn't. But also is also a way to mock his opponent, to mock the ideas of the opponent, to ridicule them. So that is why it's also an appeal to ridicule fallacy.
Have you been on Twitch lately?
Are you comparing the internet to drugs right now? Yeah. Yeah, that was the comparison. I would say that probably for kids nowadays, the internet is probably a larger agitator for suicide and death for children than drugs are.
I would like to know what is the source of that statistic that he just made up, because I can't believe that he just said that the internet is more dangerous than drugs. I can't believe that he just said that being online, being on the internet is more dangerous than doing drugs. I just can't believe that. This is the fucking dishonesty of the arguments of this fool.
I don't want to have the entire internet censored and kid-proofed just because some parents can't control their kids. But that's what's going to happen. You're saying we should turn the entire internet into Reddit just because some people are shitty parents? You're totally missing the point. You are completely missing the point.
You do want the internet to be completely kid-proof because that is what you're pushing for. You, as that chatter said, you want the internet to become Reddit, where you have to be very cautious of what you say, because you're going to be downvoted to hell, suspended, or even banned, because you have the wrong thinking, you have the wrong ideas, because you spoke something that you weren't supposed to say, because you said something against all the masses, because you're there to not be an NPC. This is what you're pushing for, even if you don't acknowledge or you don't understand it yet. This is what you're pushing for, and I don't believe you don't understand what you're pushing for. I believe you actually know what you're pushing for, but you're pretending that you don't, and you're trying to gaslight your audience and everybody that is listening to you about how good it is to have this internet ID and how it's inevitable. You're already pushing a narrative in which you're making people feel hopeless, like they have no power to stop this from happening. We have the power, we just need to say no and do something about it. I just don't understand. This guy pushes for the Stop Killing Games initiative. He disagrees and pushes for people calling Visa and MasterCard. But all of a sudden, on this topic, he bends the knee? Why? It's completely incoherent.
Even if you're right, big dog, it doesn't make it right. I understand that. And I too lament the days of the internet being an alternate universe. But the world has changed. And we need to recognize that change and be ahead of it so we can have as much control over our autonomy as possible. I am realistic. I am pragmatic. And again, it's only a matter of time. This is going to sound really, really stupid. But I learned that I can't control any outcome in the world in any sort of a general sense. And I learned to be a roach. A roach survives. A roach doesn't advocate. A roach doesn't change things. A roach doesn't make a difference. A roach survives. And I remember whenever I was farming tusks of Manaroth in Mists of Pandaria, and I said that, you know what? I want to be able to do master loot because that way I can loot the item to myself. And then they changed the rules to where I couldn't do master loot anymore. And the first day, I actually thought I was never going to get it. And then after that, I thought to myself, well, what if I brought 30 players in there that would give me, that would all be plate wearers that could then trade the item to me directly. And that's exactly what I did. And I had Tussa Manaroth a month later. That taught me something that I have used for my entire life and throughout my entire life. You cannot control systems. You cannot control outcomes. You can only adapt, improvise, and plan for them. That's all. I'm not in the business of changing the world. I'm in the business of taking advantage of it. And that's what my plan is.
So he basically just gave up. That's his position. He just gave up. He's basically saying, we already have the tip inside. Let's just put some lube and allow the complete thing to go inside. That is basically, or more or less, what he's saying. He gave up, and then his next explanation is that he's a roach, and that roaches survive. No wonder he keeps defending pirate software. They are both alike. They are both roaches, and they just do whatever they need to do to survive. Doesn't matter, morality doesn't matter, decency doesn't matter, nothing matters. The only thing that matters is to survive. And he said something really important. I am not in the business of changing the world, I am in the business of taking advantage of it. This just reveals that this guy just cares about money, just cares about succeeding. He doesn't even care about what happens to the world, so long as he succeeds or so long as he survives. This is his real position. Essentially, he's a sellout. He will sell himself to the best bidder. That is what he is saying. And like I said, the other reason why he supports this is because he wants to have control. He wants to destroy his oppositions. For example, he would probably want to destroy me because I am constantly making videos that refutes his arguments and his ideas, and because I am constantly making videos exposing him as the roach he is, and he has admitted so himself that he's a roach. So people like me, according to him, need to face real consequences just because we are daring to exercise our freedom of expression. And it's not the government of you should be afraid of, it's the companies, it's the corporations. Because like I said, we live in an oligarchy, and these companies are the ones that are controlling everything. If you say the incorrect stuff, it's not really the government that censors you on the internet. It's these corporations, it's Google, it's X, it's Meta. You know the drill. These companies are the ones that are censoring you. It's not the government. And you know who else is censoring you? Is this quote-unquote payment processors. All of those people that are not even part of the government is the ones that we should care about. Yes, the government is corrupted. Why is it that governments are corrupt? It's because this oligarchy, they corrupted the government. The government is essentially just a formality because we are not even ruled by them. There are certain countries that do enforce really hard censorship like China, but that is not even an argument. Because why would you want to be China? At least in that sense, because China has good things, but the strict control of freedom of expression is not one of those good things. Why would you want to do that? And I'm going to say you why again. It's because of the New World Order. It's as easy and as simple as that. These people, these influencers like Asmongold, are being paid by corporations to push certain messaging. In this case, Asmongold works for Night Media, and I'm going to show you exactly who Night Media is. I have shown this post constantly on many of my videos, but I'm going to put it again so you see what I am talking about. I don't think that it is only the fact that he is being paid by these organizations, by this agency, etc. It's not only that, I think he truly aligns with the New World Order by principle alone, because he is a person that wants to exercise control on others. And I am not against control, but the amount of control that the New World Order has to have on people is insane. And also because he gave up, he just gave up. He knows that it is coming and he doesn't want to fight it, because fighting against this kind of stuff can make him lose everything that he has already. And obviously he doesn't want to lose his career, his streaming career, if you can even call that a career. He doesn't want to lose any of that, so of course he's going to shut the fuck up and do what he's supposed to do, push the narrative. And like I said, it's not that he even disagrees with the narrative itself. He wants to have this insane control over others. All of this that is happening recently is a massive push for the New World Order. It's actually impressive how fast this thing is being pushed. And what is going to happen is what I already said. Everything is going to be centralized into a single ID. Some people say it's going to be a chip. I say that first is going to be just a simple card that is going to have everything on you. And you are going to be required to use this card, this ID, basically, to even function in society. Not only on the internet, no. You're going to need this ID for every single thing. To even find a job, you're going to need this ID. Welcome to the New World Order.
Goals of the banking industry, not just the Federal Reserve System, but the private banks in Germany and England, all over Italy, all over the world, they all work together. They're all central banks, and they're all part of the Communist Manifesto. You know, central banking is one of the major planks of the Communist Manifesto. We talk about America being a capitalistic country, but yet at the same time we have a central bank that plans everything for us, right? And the graduated income tax is another plank of the Communist Manifesto, right? So right there you have two major planks of the Communist Manifesto that have been brought in because of the Federal Reserve System, okay? So the ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is giving me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip, and you have nothing.
Those times.
Oh, I know.
So Asmon, the shadow leader of collective shadow.